Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
Well, as I said, Shelley, I'm really excited about our next guest. His name is Pastor Luke Neal. Not only is he good looking, not only is he an all-round nice guy, he's just facilitated a citywide prayer meeting, which was the initiative of several churches. They've prayed up a storm. Pastor Luke, welcome to the studio today.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Now, I hear it was an absolutely incredible night this week. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, it was incredible. The event was called Open Heaven. It's in its sixth year. It started in 2019 under the name of Battle Cry, a vision of Tavita Koiloi, who was at ICC Church in Brisbane. He had a vision and he saw Suncorp Stadium full of people praying for our city and our nation.
Wow.
So that year we started very small. There was just a handful of people meeting in the basketball court next to the stadium. The following year, due to COVID, we were meeting outside. The next year we met inside the stadium. There was about 800 or 900 people showed up. And then for the last 2 years before this year, we were in the RNA showgrounds. Last year we had about 1,600 people show up. But we wanted to get more churches involved, and we adopted a model that's being used very successfully in New Zealand under the Open Heaven name, where 7 or 8 or 9 significant churches and their leaders come together, form a committee, put money on the table and say, let's see what we could do if we all work together. Mm-hmm. That's called Open Heaven, and that's what the event was on Wednesday night.
And this is what encourages me, Luke, because often these things are organised by some sort of random guy who's got a real heart for prayer, who may or may not have a church, and if he does, it's not a very big church. But yeah, the largest churches in your city of Brisbane got together, didn't they? And they said, we're going to make this happen, and sort of led by example. And I've never seen this before in Australia, where all the big churches get together and say, let's just pray.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. We met back in August, and our first official meeting was in October, where 8 pastors put money on the table and said, let's all commit to this. And we realised that even if everybody in those 8 churches showed up, we'd have 11,000 people at the event.
Wow.
So we thought, well, let's just do it, cross denominations. Let's put our differences aside and let's just come together under the name of Jesus, the one thing we do agree on.
There's power in unity like
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely.
So how many people came out?
So we had 3,800 people come out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we booked out Nissan Arena. The worship band was made up of all those 8 churches and others. There was about 25 people on stage. And what was really exciting is that the vast majority of people there were under 40 years old. We had a huge amount of young adults.
Great.
It was about an hour and 45 minutes, and we prayed for the city. We prayed for our leaders, prayed for families, prayed for all sorts of things, as well as had an incredible time of worship.
So what did that prayer time look like? Like you had someone on the stage praying, or can you explain that to us?
So this year, because the 8 initiating churches decided to sort of lead from the front, we said, well, if each of our senior pastors led a section of prayer, what would that look like? So for 5 or 6 minutes each, we would do sort of a couple of worship songs and then 3 segments of prayer around 3 different categories or 3 different areas that we thought the Lord wanted us to pray into. Couple of worship songs and then 3 more segments of prayer. And so there was sort of 8 or 9 segments of prayer. And what was really exciting is we had a moment to give on the night. We thought if you want to see revival come in Brisbane, Queensland and the nation, we've got to commit to this, not just the 8 churches, but everybody. And we raised enough money on the night to put on next year's event already.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's amazing. I want to hear more. You're not going anywhere, my friend. You're staying in this studio. In the studio, we have Pastor Luke Neal. He's the campus leader of a church called Hope Centre in Brisbane, and he just facilitated, probably against his will, he kind of got nominated to facilitate a citywide prayer meeting.
I loved it.
We know you loved it, but all the churches got together and said, look, you're the facilitator. So it wasn't like you were driving it and saying, let's make this happen. There was a team behind it.
You're clearly good at it, and you're clearly passionate about it.
I do have experience. My past life was organising events and entertainment and working in resorts, so it sort of just fell into my lap and I ran with it, which was great.
And God has raised you up for this time, so that's absolutely awesome.
But I just love it. I want to hear more about this prayer meeting. So you had 3,800 people turn up from 30 or 40 different churches, the majority under the age of 40. We need to emphasise that young people praying for their city, praying for our nation. Luke, what was it like being there?
Oh, it was unbelievable. To be honest, I don't remember being in an environment where I've heard people sing as loudly. The musicians at one stage just stopped and took their earpieces out, and it was like a 3,000 person choir. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
So there's certainly a hunger, and what really excited me was at the very first song, hundreds and hundreds of young people, especially young adults, came running down the front and they worshiped. But then when the prayer time happened, they didn't stop and leave. They stayed there and they prayed together and they laid hands on each other, and they were as fervent in prayer as anybody in the room, which was so exciting. So our future is looking good.
Prayer is an interesting thing in that we can do it in so many different ways. And I reckon there's probably someone listening at the moment going, why did you bother putting on such this massive event that took so much time and effort and money to do? And obviously we're hearing some of the benefits of that. But what is the power, I guess, kind of delving a little bit theological here, but what is the power about mobilising that many people to come together to organise an event like this, rather than saying, oh, guys, Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, we're all going to pray in our bedrooms?
Well, I think most people would remember COVID, and most people would remember that you can watch church online. You can watch things, but watching something is different from being part of it. And, I when I prayed for everybody on the night, I used Acts 2:2 as a key verse. They were all gathered together in one accord, and then something miraculous happened. 500 people saw Jesus resurrected, but only 120 turned up in that upper room to wait for him and be expectant and be together and put aside their personality differences and the things that had once separated them, and just decided to be together in one accord, and that's very powerful. The Bible is also really clear that when you're in unity, God commands a blessing, and we had dozens and dozens of churches. We had, it was one of the most significant events I've ever been part of, to be honest. Because I've done a lot of big events with my denomination. I've done a lot of big events with young adults, but it's always sort of a single channel of people or cultural denomination.
Yeah, one stream, one tribe.
Yeah, and this one, there was people from every culture, every different type of church, Pentecostal, non-Pentecostal, ACC, INC, you name it.
Baptists.
They were there. Yeah, it was amazing.
And what encourages me, Luke, because I've been around the church for a little while now as well. We used to go to these great Youth Alive concerts as kids, and they were amazing. They had performances, they had a bit of worship, a bit of preaching, but it was kind of like a church. But to get young people together like that just to pray for our nation and to pray for our city, I never saw that when I was that age. I was not at a massive prayer meeting, and I just think the seed that's been sown in the hearts of these young people, that prayer is the way forward, that prayer is how we're going to see a move of God in Australia, that just really encourages me.
Yeah, absolutely. Same.
I think what's encouraging too, like you had 3,800 people there this week, but you were just sharing before about how it started really small. And if there's someone listening now thinking, oh, that sounds so great, I'd love to have a prayer meeting with 3,800 people there, you got to start small. You got to start somewhere, and you just never know where God's going to take it. I mean, maybe it will start massive. I don't know. But what would you say to someone listening right now going, look, I live in a small town, but I think this would be an amazing thing to do in my town. What would be your encouragement for them?
Well, I think it starts with God capturing your heart for the city. We pray for people because we know there's power in prayer. And ultimately, we came together to pray, not just to get together and have a great night, but because we genuinely want to see revival. We genuinely know that Jesus is the answer to Australia's issues. Political change isn't going to help. Even financial change isn't going to help. People need Jesus. And there's something powerful about building a prayer altar. And the Bible's very specific that you can have, family altars, you can have city-wide altars, and you can have national altars. And prayer is one of the ways of building an altar. And when you build an altar to heaven, heaven opens. And we just know that there's power in that. And as a Western church, prayer is not necessarily the first thing that we focus and prioritize.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other cultures that do it really well, and we just know that it's time we up the ante.
Come on. And that's what encourages me, because I've seen revival, Luke, in places like Papua New Guinea and West Africa. And all those revivals I saw were birthed in prayer.
100%. And
the churches were praying. Sometimes they pray all night on Friday night. Sometimes they have all night prayer and fasting. And God has moved. And that's why I'm just so encouraged. So, Luke, I want to thank you so much for joining us in the studio today and giving us an update. It's just so encouraging, isn't it, Shelley?
It really is encouraging. The big things that God did on the night and is going to continue to do. Lots of seeds planted and watered, and we're looking forward to the harvest.
Amazing.
Thanks so much. That's Pastor Luke Neal, who helped with the Open Heaven event.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.